Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Council-in-Committee. I'm Acting Mayor Vera LaFranc, and I'd like to welcome everybody here today on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish First Nations. So today we have a delegation. Stephen Dooley, co-chair of the Surrey Poverty Reduction Coalition, is appearing before us today to talk about the implementation of the Surrey Poverty Reduction Plan. Mr. Dooley.
Well, thank you very much. And I will be joined by Aileen Murphy, Senior Social Planner. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So, yes, I know everybody, I believe. Steve Dooley, Executive Director of the SFU Surrey Campus, and I'm also co-chair of the Surrey Poverty Reduction Coalition, along with Councillor Judy Villeneuve. We got it, good. So we are really pleased to be here on behalf of the Surrey Poverty Reduction Coalition to share an update on the actions and achievements of the coalition since the Surrey Poverty Reduction Plan was adopted by Council in July 2012. And I do want to acknowledge Dr. Savita Patti, who is also a member of our coalition, who's here with us this evening. Oh, Kristen from the library is here as well. I missed her back there. Okay. So the Surrey Poverty Reduction Coalition was formed in 2012 to guide the implementation of the Surrey Poverty Reduction Plan. So this photo shows a couple of our members. The coalition has 20 community partners. Each member represents a specific sector such as health, business, education, or a population group such as youth, Indigenous people, etc. The ongoing commitment and participation of the coalition members, many of whom are senior managers within their own organizations, is a strong indication of the importance of poverty alleviation to all of us. Poverty is related in some way to almost every social issue. The Surrey Poverty Reduction Plan is called this. The title reflects the fact that transportation, housing, income and supports are the key policy areas that impact all people living in poverty, whether they are a lone parent, family, a senior, or a single person working at a minimum wage job. In each policy area, the plan includes a number of recommendations, and for each recommendation, it identifies who has the primary responsibility, either the federal government, the provincial government, the municipal government, TransLink, or in some cases, the community itself. For most recommendations, more than one of these partners has a role to play. For example, in terms of maintaining and increasing the supply of social housing, all partners have some role to play. Now, one of the actions of the coalition has been to increase awareness and understanding of poverty in Surrey. Following the release of the 2011 census data, the coalition compiled a series of user-friendly fact sheets focused on themes of transportation, housing, income, and supports. A series of maps were prepared that show the proportion of low-income residents by neighbourhood in Surrey. Now, on this slide, just one of the slides that we have for you this evening, is some information on child poverty in Surrey. The Surrey child poverty rate is comparable to the provincial average. But with such a large population of children and youth in Surrey, this means that over 20,000 young people are growing up in poverty. Some population groups, such as Indigenous children, new immigrants, have extremely high rates of poverty. And in 2011, Surrey had 11 of the 20 Metro Vancouver neighbourhoods with the largest number of poor children. Now, this type of information on child poverty helps us to understand, to make informed decisions, and to make the case for various funding opportunities that we look into through the coalition. Aileen?
So another action of the coalition has been to mobilize the community. Since 2012, the coalition has hosted 3 community forums, and the purpose of the forum is to bring together the community to be engaged and inspired around taking action. Each forum has had about 100 participants, and we've held it at the Convention Centre at KPU. On this slide is a photo of James Hughes, who was the keynote speaker at the 2013 forum. And James was the senior bureaucrat who led the development and implementation of New Brunswick's very effective, nonpartisan poverty reduction plan. And then the other photo is from the 2015 forum, and it shows Councillor LaFranc and Stephen Dooley presenting on the ripple effects of the Surrey Poverty Reduction Plan. And this is a graphic representation of the results of an academic evaluation that was conducted by Dr. Natalie Gagnon from KPU and Steve Dooley, and shows the impacts of our poverty reduction plan. The Coalition has conducted a number of innovative projects. One of our current initiatives is the Community Leaders Igniting Change program, or CLIC. And CLIC provides leadership training to grassroots community leaders. It's inspired by a program that we were really excited about in the City of Hamilton. The CLIC program, it's a partnership between the Surrey Poverty Reduction Coalition, the SFU Beatty School of Business, and Envision Financial. Dr. Kathleen Burke on the left-hand side there, she teaches the course. So far, 3 cohorts of students have completed the 12-week program, and the 4th cohort will start in the fall. CLIC graduates range in age from high school students to older adults. It's included people who work on the front lines in nonprofits, new immigrants, including new immigrants from our Immigrant Advisory Roundtable, and people who have never had the opportunity to attend a university course before, which is really quite something to see those people and how proud they are completing the course. So CLIC builds leadership skills and confidence among these community members so they have the tools to be able to make change. A second current project of the Surrey Poverty Reduction Coalition is the Connecting Community to Surrey Youth Leaving Care. And tragically, many young people age out of government care at the age of 19 and into poverty. And this project is focused on exploring how the broader community outside of the child welfare system can support these young people as they transition into adulthood. The project has multi-year funding from the Vancouver Foundation, and this photo shows a 19th birthday art exhibit that was on display at City Hall last fall that some of you may have seen. Each place setting had a particular story of a young person aging out of care. So another role of the Surrey Poverty Reduction Coalition has been advocacy. The Refugee Transportation Loan Program has been one of our major campaigns, since the repayment of transportation loans pushes vulnerable refugee families into deep levels of poverty. And in this photo, you have a resident signing our petition. The petitions were presented to the House of Commons last summer by MP Randeep Sarai.
Thanks, Aileen. So over the past number of years, the Surrey Poverty Reduction Coalition work there's been lots of support for it from multiple organizations providing direct and in-kind financial support. But it's been funded through time-limited project-based grants and in-kind support. A lot of work has been done off the sides of people's desks, and we believe that this approach is difficult to sustain. The report going to Council tonight requests a contribution of $25,000 from the Council Initiatives Fund to support the work of the Coalition. We hope that Council will support this recommendation. We also hope that in the future, Council, with great respect, might consider including support for the Surrey Poverty Reduction Coalition in the annual social planning budget of the City. The City's support will help sustain the work of the Surrey Poverty Reduction Coalition, and this investment will come back in the form of other larger investments from different community partners. Now, as you are aware, the federal government is in the process of developing a national poverty reduction plan, and we expect that the province will also be developing a plan in the very near future. I can tell you that the Surrey community, through the Coalition, is very well placed to provide strong advice about the development of what the province might consider doing. So our local efforts through the Poverty Reduction Plan and the Coalition put Surrey in a very good position to work with other levels of government to address poverty in Surrey. So in closing, I want to close with a quote here. "The poverty costs us all. Poverty expands healthcare costs, policing burdens, and diminished educational outcomes. We believe that eradicating poverty and homelessness is not only the humane and decent priority of a civilized democracy, but absolutely essential to a productive and expanding economy benefiting from the strengths and abilities of all people." And this is a quote from a federal government report on poverty reduction. With that, we're finished, and want to thank you very much for taking the time to listen to us.
Thank you so much for your presentation, and I'll just see if there are any questions from Council. I see Councillor Villeneuve.
Well, thank you very much for the presentation, and I just want to acknowledge the incredible work that Aileen Murphy and our social planning staff have done supporting the Poverty Reduction Coalition, and thanks Steve and Vera for their chairmanship and their dedication to the coalition along with the other 20 community members. I'd say this is a volunteer committee that started out to put together the poverty reduction plan that has been very essential in directing the work of the coalition, and I think provides a really good example of what both the provincial and federal policies could look like, primarily because it designates what cities can do, what the province can do, what the federal government can do, and what the individuals and organizations can do. And I've had to admire the Alice Sundberg and Aileen for the way, and Vera through Van City, they found funding to keep this coalition together. But without that funding and coordination, we would not have been able to achieve what we have been able to achieve, which has been recognized at the UBCM and at FCM conference that I was at. So I really believe it's time for Council to take some initiative and to fund this coalition and for staff to include it as part of our budget. It's not a lot of money, but for the time that is spent having to fill out these, rigorous applications, competing applications from little sources of funding, I think it's really a waste of time, and that we should be using the valuable time of coalition members to actually be continuing to work with the community, which has responded well to the initiatives. And I think the CLIC program and the amount of work that's gone into helping lobbying on the refugee transportation loan and the work that went around the children aging out of care. And I think Mayor Hepner just saw the SOS Village, and certainly Vera was there for an opening of a couple new houses and sort of directly targeting children that they can support. That's what we need to do in the future, and I think the city can be really proud of the work that they're doing towards poverty reduction, making a commitment. I think it works well with our master plan of housing and homelessness and our social plan, and also will work really well with our new affordable housing plan coming forward. It's really the core of a lot of that work, so thanks to everyone involved.
Thank you, Councillor Villeneuve. I see Mayor Hepner.
Thank you, Madam. And thank you very much for your presentation this afternoon. I echo many of the comments that Councillor Villeneuve has made, and I do want you to know that when I sit at the big city mayor's table and I see that some of those cities do not have a poverty reduction plan, and we took ours in and shared it with those cities that have one, and I was feeling very proud that we have done the work that we have achieved thus far. And I know with the federal government coming out with their own poverty reduction on a national level, and now a provincial government that is looking at developing one, I think we stand in good stead. But I do want to say that I appreciate all of the hard work in developing the kind of depth of experience and partners that we have at the table, but developing the community members to have a better understanding and to be able to contribute in the way that they have is really valuable. So you certainly have my support on the report coming forward to Council tonight, and I do thank you for all of the good work you're doing for the most vulnerable in our community. And when I see that our city has more children in poverty, and making sure that we have good, strong head starts is the best way to create good citizens down the road, this is really important work. So I thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, Mayor Hepner. And Councillor Hain.
Thank you, Chair. And congratulations on the work that you've been doing and continue to do. And it's as the previous speakers have said, incredibly important work. I'm wondering if you might be able to comment on any success or where we stand or with the transportation loan forgiveness from the federal government, because we have a sort of a new federal government now that made some commitments in that regard, and that was one of the pieces that you mentioned, and would be a clear deliverable, certainly for the new people coming to our community.
We're continuing. The federal government has informed us that it's under review. The Minister Hussein actually came to Surrey City Hall a few months ago and met with the Surrey Local Immigration Partnership, and it was raised with the minister at that time. And we presented copies of our petition, as well as letting him know that the city has been concerned about this issue since 2009 and lobbying on it. We haven't yet heard back in terms of whether or not they will make a change.
Okay, thanks, because it's something that obviously, you're absolutely right, we've been lobbying on this, and Councillor Villeneuve and others have been steadfast about this issue now for many years, and it just seems like such an obvious one to be able to give a hand up to our newest Canadians. So thank you for the work that you do on that.
Thank you, Councillor Hain. Thank you so much for your presentation today. It's been such an honor and to work with you since 2009 or 10 on this poverty reduction strategy, which is really held up as a model across the country now. So what I think is most important is that we have the ability as a city. We don't hold all the cards in terms of poverty reduction, but one of the things that we can do is convene and have conversations and actually advocate for the changes that we want to see in support, as Mayor Hepner said, of our most vulnerable citizens. And 20,000 children living in poverty in our city is just too many. And so I know that we have most children in the Metro Vancouver region, and it's a really good reason for us to do this work. So I want to express my thanks to you both, Aileen and Stephen, to the committee as a whole, and I look forward to more good work. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So seeing no more questions, I will call for adjournment. I did it. All in favor?